Hello class, this is your teacher Mr. McDougall with your next Photoshop tutorial. In this one we are going to talk about different types of album cover art, and I'm going to show you how to edit 3 simple ones. So if you are on Spotify or whatever you use to listen to music, you'll notice that every artist has their own album cover, and that could vary depending on their style and their genre. So there's lots of ways you can do it. Even the same artist will have different covers for each of their different albums. So as you can see, there's a whole variety. We got this cool pop art effect or a 3D glitch or this classic kind of vintage look right here for some classic older music genres. So there's really thousands of different ways you can do it, and every artist has their own style. So it would take too long to obviously cover every single one of these styles, but let me teach you 3 of the more common and simpler ones that we're going to do. So in the album art effects, that is today's lesson, I provided 3 examples of the 3 types I'm going to show you. So example number 1 is going to be this pop art effect where it's black and white, but instead of white it's another color, so it creates this very simple cool pop art style. The second one I'm going to go over is this vintage style look where we're going to add some digital noise to it to make it look like it was taken on an older camera, giving it that vintage classic rock look. And then the third one we're going to go over is this cool 3D glitch effect right here. So these are the 3 I'm going to talk about from all of your exercise files. As always, download all the exercise files and open them up in Photoshop, and we'll get started. So you have 10 exercise files to choose from, and you can use them in any order that you want, but let me explain how. Don't just start editing each picture on its own. Every album cover is going to be a square, so we need to create a square canvas first. So if you see right here, every album you see, all the thumbnails, they're always a square. So that's what we're going to create in Photoshop. So in Photoshop, don't just start editing the photos itself. First, let's create a square canvas. Go up to File, and then New, or Control N, and make sure that you have a square canvas. So for this one, it's going to be 2000 by 2000 pixels. Make sure this is set to pixels, and make sure it's 2000 by 2000. This first one we're going to go over is the pop art. So let's just call this pop. I'm going to call this pop 1 because we're going to do a few different ones. Make sure artboards is turned off. You don't want that. And then let's hit create. So now we have our beautiful white square canvas. So to start, we're going to do the pop 1. Pick any of the exercise files that you want to start with. You don't have to do the same one I do. Pick any of these ones that I provided and feel free to just mix around and have fun. I'm going to start with this one with number 1 of the girl, but feel free to pick a different one. So to move it over, as we've practiced 100 times before, you can either select all and then copy paste, or you can just use your move tool to click and drag and drop it in right there. Before you start changing the size of your subject, make sure we convert to a smart object. So I'm going to change the size, but not yet. Let's right click and do convert to smart object first. Now we can start changing the size without worrying about any damage. So adjust your size to wherever you want, depending on your subject. If I want her to be more in the middle, I could put her there, but I actually kind of like her more off to the side a little bit, giving more style to it. I'm going to go right there. Put your subject wherever you think is appropriate. Okay, so now that they're a smart object, we are going to start adding some adjustments and filters to these guys. So instead of adding a normal adjustment layer, so typically we add adjustments, we come up here to adjustments, or we go to the adjustment layer right here. What that does is it creates a layer on top. However, since it's a smart object, we're going to add the adjustment straight onto the layer itself, and it'll allow us to change it. So the first adjustment we're going to add is the threshold. So come over here to Image, and we're going to come down to Adjustments, and then we're going to go to Threshold right here. So if you click Threshold, it'll look like this. It's going to turn the object black and white. However, now you can actually change the intensity of the highlights and the shadows with this slider right here. If I drag it this way, you can see the highlights become more dominant, or if I drag it this way, the shadows become more dominant. So again, this is up to you on where you want to put it, depending on the image that you chose. Maybe you want it kind of like that, or maybe you want it dark like this. Maybe not that dark because now you can't see your face, but you still want to see the subject's face. I'm going to go kind of right about there. I think I like that spot right there. That looks cool, but pick a spot to your liking and click OK. So you can see what happened right here. Since it's a smart object, it became an attached filter that we can now turn on and off. So let's add another filter we're going to add the gradient map adjustment to give it that colorful look. So let's go up to image, and we're going to go back to adjustments again, and then this time we're going to go to gradient map right here. By default it's black and white, but now we're going to change the colors. Just like gradients before, you can click on this rectangle where you see the black and white to bring open this menu, and now we can change the colors. We're going to leave this one, it doesn't have to necessarily be black, but we can have it dark. So if I go here, I do want it to be a dark color, but maybe we can make it more dark gray. But we do still want it to be a dark-ish color. So I don't want this one to be black. I'm going to do dark gray. Pick whatever you like, something dark, and then click OK. And then this one we're going to change to a brighter color. So this one, click on the white square, and then you can change the color like this. So now pick any color that you want to go with to create that cool two-tone look. I'm going to go with this one. I like the teal look. But pick whatever you like. Pick one solid color. Let's not add too many colors. We're just going to keep it like this with the black or dark gray, and then whatever bright color you've decided to choose. Make sure you click OK to close these panels. And now we have the cool pop art. And the pop art is as simple as that. We just added a threshold and a gradient map. So here's the original. We added the threshold layer and the gradient map. And as always, these are smart objects, so we can easily turn these on and off if we need to change them. So what I want you to do now is repeat the process on one other exercise file. So just pick one other one to start with, maybe this guy or this girl or whoever, and do the same thing. Remember to create a square canvas first. Don't just start editing this picture. Go to File, New, and create a new file to start with. So this one will be Pop2. Same settings, 2000 by 2000 pixels. It's square. And do the same thing with any of the other files you want to go with. So move the subject and here, do your smart object, and then you can start adding the threshold and gradient map. So pause the video, do that part, and then we're going to move on to the classic rock looking one. So for every single one of these exercise files, we're going to do what I just said, which is to create a square canvas first. We're never editing the photos directly. Every single one of these exercise files, we're going to do a square canvas for our album cover. So let's do the same thing, File and New, or Control N to get to that shortcut. This one will be Vintage. All the settings will be exactly the same. I'm just changing the title so I know which is which, but every single one of them will be 2000 pixels by 2000 pixels. Do not check artboards or change any other settings, and click Create. So now we'll get started. I will pick this girl as in my example, but feel free to pick any of the other files you would like to go with. I'm going to go with her. So either select all and copy paste, or drag and move like so. So before I change her size, let's convert to a smart object. Right click, convert to smart object. Now I'm free to change her size to fit. So adjust it to fit however you would like. I kind of like her right about there. Right there for me. But adjust your subject to wherever you'd like. And she's a smart object now. So now we're going to add in another adjustment and a filter to her as well, so it won't be permanent. Let's go up to Image. Oh, I need to click Adjustments, but it's not there because I don't have the layer selected. Click the layer. There we go. If that ever happens to you, that's the issue. Just click on the layer so this will become available. So Adjustments, and this one we're going to add a gradient map again. So let's go to Gradient Map. By default it's black and white, but let's change the color just like we did before. Keep this one as a black or a dark grayish color so we could still see the shadows. I kind of like that. And then this one, let's make a new color. Don't use the same color every time. In the last example, I used a green color, so this one I'll pick something else, maybe purple or blue or pink or salmon or something. I'm gonna go with that. I like that. Very cool. So click OK, and click OK. So now we have our great smart gradient map that we could turn on and off. The next thing we're going to add is the fake noise to the image to make it look old and vintage. So come up here to the top where it says Filter. Click on Filter, and then we're going to go to Noise, and then simply Add Noise right here. So what you'll see here is it starts to add the little grain to it, and you can increase the amount by increasing this slider right here. You see how I increase the slider, the noise gets higher. Obviously you don't want to go crazy like that because now you can't even see the image anymore, but pick a level to where it's noticeable, but it doesn't look fake. See, that looks a little too fake to me, so I'm going to pull it back. Pick a level that looks good to you. You can kind of see it right here, right now, of how the noise is looking in the image. Click OK. So you can see that it makes it look like it was taken on an older camera that doesn't have as good light sensitivity. So now it looks like this picture was taken maybe 30 or 40 years ago. And again, all of these are smart filters we can turn on and off. So that is how you create the vintage look. Just like we did in the first example, I want you to repeat on another practice file, creating this one. So create your square. Make sure you create a new file to start with first. This one will be vintage 2. Same settings. Pick any of the other exercise files that you want to go with. For this one, maybe this guy or whichever one you would like. Bring him here, make him into a smart object, and then start practicing. Okay, so do that. Pause the video so you can do that, and then join me for the last example. I'll show you how to do the glitch one. Okay, so for the glitch one, let's do the same thing. Let's go to File, New, create a new square canvas. This is glitch 1. First one we're going to practice. Same thing, 2000 by 2000 pixels. That's all good. Hit create. And now let's copy paste or move our subject over there. Drag them over and put them right there. As always, they need to be a smart object first. Right click, convert to smart object. And now adjust the size however you want for your subject. Too big right there. I'm going to keep them right there in the middle. I think that looks good. All right, perfect. So now this one, a few more steps involved with this one. We're not going to add any filters or adjustments. This one we're going to do something brand new. So for this one, the first thing we're actually going to do is desaturate the layer. We're going to do a hue and saturation, but instead of doing adjustments, we're just going to do it straight onto the layer by using the shortcut Control U. So if you hold Control and then U, it brings up the hue saturation. We're going to take the saturation and drop it all the way to 0 to make it black and white, and then click OK. So that's the same thing as going to Image, Adjustments, Hue and Saturation. I just did the shortcut right here, as you saw, Control U. Not all of them have a shortcut. Threshold and Gradient Map don't have a shortcut, so that's why I had to go the long way, but this one does, so it always helps if there's a shortcut. All right, so now what we're going to do, you can also collapse the little menu. See right here? I don't really need to mess with this. There's a little arrow right here. You can collapse if you don't want to see it. So next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to duplicate the layer. So Control J to duplicate it, and we're going to rename these two layers right here. So the first layer, layer number 1, we're going to rename it to Cyan, C-Y-N-A. Cyan is kind of like a blue color. And the top one, we're going to rename to Red. Perfect. So we have red and cyan, and then we have our original background. So on the cyan one, double click on it to open up the blending options. So we've been here before, we've done a couple of things, but we're going to do something brand new today. So we're going to focus on this part right here that says channels. So channels, it says RGB. That stands for red, green, and blue, which are the 3 primary colors that make up digital imagery. I know when you were in kindergarten, they talked about the 3 primary colors of red, blue, and yellow. However, in digital, everything that's digital, these are the 3 primary colors, red, green, and blue. That only applies to digital images to see the whole spectrum of colors. So for the cyan one, we are going to turn off the red channel. So click R to turn it off, and that leaves with this cyan blue color right here. So then click OK. On the red channel, double click. This one is going to be red, so we're going to turn off B and G. So blue and green are turned off, only red is left on, which leaves the red channel color right here, and then click OK. So I'm going to collapse these again for a second. So right now we haven't done anything just yet, and you can't tell that there's a difference because both layers are directly on top of each other, so they're creating this still black and white image. So now what we're going to do, select the red layer, make sure you have your move tool so we can move it over, but instead of dragging it and moving it, we're just going to use the arrow keys. So on your keyboard, use the left arrow key and just tap it a few times to start scooting it over to the left. So I'm tapping my left arrow key, and you can see what's happening. Now it's scooting over, creating this 3D look. So I took the red layer and I just moved it, so now they're offset from each other, and now you can see the offset is creating this blue and red 3D outline. And this is actually what you see when you look at 3D movies. 3D movies or 3D images just take the red and the blue and they offset them a little bit. And if you wear 3D glasses, it lines them back up and makes the image look like it's three-dimensional. So creating this red-blue channel separation is how you can create this 3D look. But we're not done yet. We still need to create the glitch look with it. So for this one, what we're going to do next is we're going to use a little shortcut to make a new layer that combines all the bottom layers. And on your Windows computer, that shortcut is holding Control, Alt, Shift, and the letter E as an echo. So I did all of those together, and what just happened is it made layer 1 right here. This layer is not a duplicate, it's a combination of all the layers. It took all the layers underneath it and it combined it into one solid layer right here. So now on this layer, we're going to start creating this 3D effect. So I'm going to retitle this layer to glitch, so I know that that's the glitch layer right there. So on this glitch layer, we're going to use two tools. We're going to use the Move tool and the one underneath it called the Rectangle Marquee tool. Choose the Rectangle Marquee tool. That allows us to make a rectangle selection. So now I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see. Use the Rectangle Marquee tool to just make a little rectangle selection near the top of his head. And it'll look like that. You can move it around if you have to. Just move right there. It doesn't really matter where because we're going to do it randomly across his whole body. So now that you've made your selection, we need to go back to the Move tool. And with the Move tool selected, again, tap the arrow keys on your keyboard to the left or the right. I'm going to tap to the left. I'm just tapping to the left just a little bit, not too far, and now it's scooted it over. So now let's deselect, or hit Control D to deselect, and now you're seeing that we're going to create the 3D glitch. So we just need to repeat that process throughout his entire body. So let's do it again. Marquee tool, make a rectangle selection somewhere. You can mess around with the thickness of the rectangle a couple times. Let's put it right there. Go back to the Move tool, and now let's scoot it the other way. So in the first one, I scooted it to the left. Now let's scoot it to the right. So scoot in opposite directions each time. I'm just going to tap to the right arrow to scoot it over, and then deselect. And we're just going to go through and do that the whole time. A faster way to do it is remember to use the shortcuts. The shortcut for the rectangle marquee is M, and the rectangle for a Move tool is V. So if I just hit M, boom, I'm on the tool now. So keep your fingers on the M and the V to quickly switch back and forth. So let's do it again. Select a rectangle here, switch V to my Move tool, and then start moving it over. And then deselect. Hit M to go back to the Marquee tool, and do it again. M, and then V, and now let's move it over again. So just do this throughout his entire body, scooting it over. So I'll do that with you right now. Just go down his body a little bit, make a selection, go back to the Move tool, and scoot it over. Do it over and over again until you've gone all the way down his body. Again, changing your rectangle size a couple times just to see what it looks like. Some could be thick, some could be a little thinner, just to see the difference. There we go, that's looking good. Let's do one more, right about there. Tapping it, scooting it over, and then deselect. Perfect. So now it's looking like not only is he three-dimensional, but he's kind of stuck in a digital VHS tape or something and he's glitching out. And remember, that's on this layer only. So if I hide this top layer, that's where the glitch effect is. And then these are the other ones. Here's the red channel and here's the cyan channel. Ta-da, just like that. So again, just like we did before, create a new square and practice the glitch one again. So this will be glitch 2. Pick any of your other exercise files, just pick one more, and then create the glitch effect again. Maybe do it on that guy, or this one, whatever you'd like to do. I gave you a whole bunch to choose from. Let's go with this one. Same thing, convert it to a smart object and repeat all the same steps that we went over. The third one had a few more steps than the first two, so rewind and rewatch this video to go back and see the steps. For the remaining files, I gave you 10 files, so you have 4 more to practice with. I want you to practice all 3 of the techniques on any of the order that you want. Just have fun practicing each one. Practice the vintage one, the pop one, and the glitch one 1 or 2 more times a piece so you can have practice doing all of the effects, because we will be using all of these again in our next project. So practice all 3 of these again on your remaining practice files. You have a total of 10 practice files, so you should have a total of 10 different album cover exercise screenshots that you're going to take. Once you've completed all 10 exercise files, take screenshots of all your cool album covers. Remember, you should have 10 in total because I gave you 10 exercise files, and attach all of those screenshots to today's assignment. Okay? Have fun. Let me know if you have any questions.